Thank you.
The recording has stopped.
Oh boy. Wait a minute. What happened?
You're on.
I'm on? Okay. I got a funny message. All right. Hi, everybody. Guess what? This is our last Zoom meeting. Next week, we meet in person and every meeting after that. And we're very happy.
This
Very,
meeting
very-
is being recorded.
I hope you didn't hear that because I don't know who else is talking. Anyway, good evening, everyone. The City of Peabody Zoning Board of Appeals meets remotely tonight in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A, and Governor Baker's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. Individuals may participate remotely in this meeting via a participation platform called Zoom. So that will be the last time I say the word Zoom. Tonight we have the continued application of residents at Endicott LLC, care of attorney Jason Panos, for the Chapter 40B comprehensive permit as it applies to the premises known as 40 to 42 Endicott Street. We also have a continued application of HDG King Street LLC, care of attorney Jason Panos, for a Chapter 40B comprehensive permit as it applies to the premise known as 15 King Street, Peabody, Mass. So, before we begin, I do have the two correspondences that were previously accepted on May 17th. Those being one of the letters written by Councilor Ann Manning Martin and school committee member Jared Hockman, and they had requested us to questioning whether we could invoke safe harbor, which we could not. We also have a letter dated 5/17/21 from Mayor Edward Betancourt Jr. Asking for the same safe harbor claim, which we were not able to do. Now, for the sake of time, I'm not going to read these into the record. However, anybody listening or anybody that is listening and wants to relate the message, you may call Carla McGrath, the zoning board secretary, at 532-3000. And is 532-3000?
Five.
Go ahead, 532.
978-538.
538.
5792.
5792. Call City Hall, ask for Carla McGrath. She can either email you a copy or send you out a copy, or you may email her at carla.mcgrath@peabody.ma/gov. And she will send you out hard copies for anybody that would like to read these. So that's the first order of business. Excuse me. The second order of business is we are going to accept into the record two correspondences, one dated April 28th, 2021. Laura Johnson, 7 Esquire Drive. It's a letter in opposition to 40 to 42 Endicott Street. May I have a motion to accept this into the record?
Motion to accept.
All in favor?
Was there a second?
Was there a second?
Second.
Okay. And April 29th, 2021, Ed and Patricia Rennick, 49 Endicott Street, also had a letter in opposition. May I have a motion to accept that into the record?
Motion to accept the correspondence.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Dear Secretary Senzabaugh is now going to read a letter dated May 21st, 2021, rescinding their opposition to 40 to 42 Endicott Street project, and it's from Erin Murphy and Alexander Saltzman. So Dan, could you read that into the record, please?
Sure. This is an email from Erin Murphy to Carla McGrath dated Friday, May 21st. And the subject line is opposition to 40 to 42 Endicott. And it says, I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but please remove our names from the opposition petition. Thank you.
Thank you. I need a motion to accept that.
So moved.
So
Motion
moved.
to accept.
Second, any opposed? Okay. I also need a motion to accept a memo from Attorney Panos on 40 to 42 Endicott Street peer review agreement memo dated May 25th, 2021. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, I'm going to read a planning board memo dated May 7th, 2021. And all this says is, dear Mrs. Galucci, well, it's never been quite spelled that way. Please be advised that at the regularly scheduled meeting of the Peabody Planning Board on May 7th, 2021, the board voted 5-1 to send a letter to the Board of Appeals as requested in regards to the above mentioned item, which is 40 to 42 Endicott Street comprehensive permit application. The board offers the following comments on the proposed project. The board is concerned over the proposed size of the proposal with respect to the character of the neighborhood and also with respect to the way it is depicted being out of character with the architecture of the neighborhood. I need a motion to accept.
Move to accept.
Second.
Any opposed? Okay, that's done.
Through the chair,
Yes,
I think I think you said 5-1. I think it was 5-0 with one voting present.
I'm sorry, that's right. 5 to,
With
One abstained.
one abstained.
1 abstained. 5-0, 1 abstained. Yep, sorry. Thank you for correcting me on that, Barry. I now have I need a motion to accept from June 10th, 2021, Attorney Panos's correspondence. I need a motion to accept that into the record.
So moved.
Second.
Any opposed? All in favor? Okay, fine. Now, we have,
Through the chair,
yep,
I don't mind accepting this letter,
yep.
but it pertains to 71 letters in support.
No, we're coming to that.
Oh, isn't that the June 10th letter?
Yeah, okay, yep.
Okay, all right.
So now what we're going to do now, Barry, is I'm going to have Dan read the names of the 71 people in favor of this 40 to 42 Endicott Street project. Do you want to say anything, Barry, before he does that?
Well, I have no problem. I have no problem with the printing. But if you're gonna send a letter, it should be signed. And really, none of these letters are signed, but with the printing, I have no problem with, I understand that. But getting to the end, there's a bunch of letters with nothing but it's typed in. You can't even designate who typed it in. So I would have a real problem accepting those letters. But the ones that they're actually, the residents took the bother to print, I would have no problem accepting, but I don't know if we should be accepting just typed letters with no way of indicating who sent them, other
Okay.
than there's a name there.
So instead of me right now going through it, do you have a number of them? Like, are there 10 or are there 20?
I don't know. I'd have to go through and count them. But
We're doing that right
No,
now.
I mean, I'm just saying that, it's nice that they bothered to do this, but a letter is usually signed. And really, none of them are signed, but I can understand the printing. I can understand that somebody took the bother to write a letter underneath
Okay.
it. But the ones
All
that
right.
are typewritten, I don't want to accept.
Okay, so we have 10 of them. Carla just counted them. We have 10 of them. Let's see.
Well, because now we have to let Dan know which ones not to read in.
Right, so I think what we're going to do is, once Dan starts,
I'll just have to stop him.
we'll stop him and say, we won't accept those.
Through the chair, that's just my opinion. I would vote not to accept them, but I'm not gonna speak for the board. If the board has no problem with them, I'll.
Okay, let's have a discussion. This, I can see a few people are looking into their packets now.
It seems like it's one family that's typewritten in.
It seems like it's one family that's typewritten in.
Well, it's, they have the same last name. They're in different addresses. But it's all
Different
the last-
addresses, seems like it's the
Yeah.
same last name. What does the board think?
I tend to agree with Barry. I mean, if we had anything else that suggested these, I don't doubt that they did it.
I don't
Right.
need,
Time, we have no way of knowing. It's just, it could have been printed by one family member that's did it for, 17 different people.
And there's no signature. Okay, so I think what we'll do is, when we come to that, we'll let Dan know. And if in fact they're listening, or they get wind of this and they want to resubmit some letters, we'll accept that at next time. Does that seem fair?
that's fine.
Yes?
Madam Chair, if I could offer something as well. In addition to the 71 letters signed by 94 residents, minus the 10 printed that you may be inclined to remove, and we'll have them resubmitted. That's not a problem. There were 2 additional letters that came in after I had written this letter, from Cynthia Aslegron and Emmanuel Aslegron, both at 8 Winnigan's Avenue in Peabody. So that makes,
Yeah, we know. Dan has those.
oh, okay. So but that makes 73 in total, signed by 96.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Okay, Dan. Okay, Dan, could you begin?
Sure, Fran. Do you want names only or names and addresses?
Names and addresses.
Okay.
Names and
And
addresses.
are you gonna stop me as I go or at the end?
I'm going to stop you as you go.
All right, so I'll pause after I read each one, and then
Uh,
you nod your head and let me know if I can keep going.
You know what? You just keep going, and we'll yell out. So you don't have to pause. Just make it a rolling.
All right, when I do that, what are you going to say? Are you gonna
I'm
say
gonna
this one
say-
wasn't signed?
Yes, I'm
Gotcha.
going to say this is one of the ones that we're not accepting.
Okay.
Okay.
That works. All right, here we go. Emmanuel and Cynthia Eslogan at 8 Winnigan's Ave. Anthony Dasani at 3305 Woodbridge Road. Aaron Murphy and Alex Saltzman at 11 Endicott Street, Unit 1. Andrea and Victor Mole, 5 Helen Drive. Vanessa Mole at 3305 Woodbridge Road. Juliana Roberts at 5 Helen Drive. Jose Cordero at 7 Parkview Lane. Ken Ander, 16 Crown and Shield. David Smith, 267 Lowell. Charles Wheaton Jr., Edgar, Michelle, Gabrielle, and Edgar Senior Poirier, 13 Jennifer Lane. Paul and Nancy Varii and Brandon Aravallo at 18 Jennifer Lane. Larry and Sandra McKinley at 12 Crown and Shield. Sarah Urbanski at 1 Main Street. Catherine Lucia at 12 Crown and Shield. Gina, Marcella, and Johnny Vasone at 54 Gooddale Street. Kelly Carita at 10A Walsh Ave. Tim Hartney and Jose Abuedo at 43 Shore Drive, Apartment E. Patrick Blake, I'm sorry, Jose Abuedo is at 31 Union Street. Patrick Blake is at 52 Endicott. Ramon Canella, 19 Warren Street. Norman Viger, 12 Crown and Shield, number 323. Eugene and Marie Clements and Sally Murtagh at 80 Russell Street. Thomas Ahern and Tammy January at 4 Birchwood Ave. Sean and Kathleen O'Neill at 114 Birch Street. Nicole O'Neill at 114B Birch Street. Dale Kearney and Megan Strucker at 112 Birch Street. Anthony Sullo at 13 Quail Road. Christopher and Dolores
Stop,
Alamonte.
stop. So which one was it?
So, Dan, if you see the last names of the next people,
Yes,
so, you can omit the next 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Start up at Paul DeRosa.
Start up at Paul DeRosa.
Paul DeRosa at 8 Sharsha Circle. Andrew McKenzie at 3 Crestwood Lane. And Anthony Varias at 7 Water Street. Those are the names and addresses of the letters in support of this project, which were signed and
Thank you.
were accepted.
Okay.
Or
I
have they
need,
been- yeah, have they been accepted, or are we moving to accept? them?
you're gonna move to accept them now.
Okay, so motion to accept the letters of the names and addresses, which I just read into the record.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Barry, you okay?
I'm fine.
Okay. All right, so at this point in time, all that little housekeeping has been taken care of, and we are now going to listen to a presentation, I believe, from Attorney Panos. And anybody that would like to, when he's done, have public participation will also, we can listen to that this evening also. And then after that, we'll go right into King Street. Barry, did you want to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Attorney Panos.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jason Panos, practicing law at 246 Andover Street in Peabody, Massachusetts, representing the applicant, the residences at Endicott LLC. I'm joined by Pat Tedisco, who is a principal of the applicant at 28 Jennifer Lane, and Tony Capichetti from Hayes Engineering. Tonight, it was my understanding that we basically continued the hearing to hear public comment based on the May 10th application, or rather presentation. So we really don't have a lot to say tonight by way of substance. However, we would like to take this opportunity to update the board as to what's been going on over the past month. And I'm happy to say that in coordination with Will Politz over at DPS, Tony Capichetti from Hayes Engineering, and Kurt Bellavance, that peer review is well underway. We've already done some test pits on site so that Janet Bernardo from Horsley Witten could start her work with regard to stormwater. And Tony, if you have anything else to say through the chair, I'd like to introduce you to the discussion, and you can update us, and hopefully Will can also chime in perhaps again through the chair to the rest of the board.
No, it's like I said, Will's been very cooperative. We've been moving forward, trying to get things prepared so we can get a peer review. we'd just like to ask, if it's at all possible, as the reports come in, if we could get them, understanding that, we typically likes to see them as one chunk on the response, which we're fine with, but this would at least allow us to prepare to respond to each of them as they come in on a rolling basis, and then provide him one memo at the end. Understanding that he also has to prepare his memo that would be the overarching item to be addressed.
Okay, thank you. Will, did you have anything to say, or should we just take public participation? It's up to you.
No, we have nothing to add. As Jason said, the peer reviews are all underway. So we're going to start getting, I think we may have gotten one or two back on Friday, and I expect they'll all start coming back in at this point.
And
Okay.
if I could just add to conclude, it's the same cast of characters that this board is all too familiar with. It's Horsley Witten on stormwater and 21E. It's World Tech on traffic. It is Ty and Bond on sanitary sewer, wastewater. And it is Weston and Sampson on water hookup.
Okay, thank you.
You're
So-
welcome. Thank you.
At this time, do we have anybody in the audience that would like to add anything, ask a question? There still will be plenty of time for public participation questions, but I just want to know if there's anybody tonight. Do we have anybody, Carla?
Nobody's raising their hand.
Okay, we have nobody in the audience tonight, so anybody that does listen to this at another time, tomorrow night, next week, whenever, just know that you can still chime in, ask questions, express your concerns the next time we meet on this, which is once again going to be in person, and we now have to pick another date. Let me just look at the calendar in back of me for a second. What did we say? We didn't. Regular meeting, decision on King Oak Street. Oh. Oh, man. Yeah, are you on?
Jason.
Okay, so Jason, how much time do you think you might need for to come back with something? And Will, you can also chime in on that. You know, we are not going to meet in August.
Okay.
We don't
it all-
usually meet in August, and I'm going to stick to that because we have been inundated and Zooming almost at least 3 Mondays a month, which we love, but I think that we're going to have just a little reprieve before we start meeting again. So Jason and Will, what do you think for obviously you must want to come back in July, right?
Mm-hmm. If at all possible, and it all depends on how rapidly the peer review comes in.
How about, so I was looking at July 26th.
It's good to me.
Now, the 19th, everybody on the board is our regularly scheduled, no, Barry, you're not going to be here on the 26th?
No, the 19th, I might not be here.
And I will not be available on the 26th.
Okay. You won't be here, Barry, on the 19th?
Possibly not.
How-
I definitely won't be here on the 12th.
Okay.
All right.
So-
So I'm getting a new grandson. So on the 10th.
Oh, in Florida?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is, we're on TV.
So
Congratulations.
I might be back the 19th. We haven't finalized the thing. I definitely won't be here the 12th, but there's a possibility I could be here the 19th.
Okay, so here's what I'm thinking, everybody. I did have something very important planned on the 19th, hoping, just looking a little forward. However, the 19th is a regularly scheduled meeting. And, you know, if Barry can't be here, you know, we can go on, but we do need him for a 40B. So, did somebody say they can't make it on the 26th? Oh, will. Okay, so what I'm thinking is this off the top of my head. The 19th, we're going to be meeting for a regularly scheduled meeting. Wow. What? I'm just concurring here with my secretary. The dates.
I'm not on mute anymore. Madam,
Okay, so do you think, Will and Jason, could you have maybe a couple of work sessions? And then maybe Will, you could have somebody speak on your behalf on the 26th for whatever you have to say? Or you're not comfortable with that?
That might work, Fran. I mean,
It looks like we might have to meet in August.
well, the other thing I would suggest, if it's appropriate, is unless the board is stuck on Monday, we can do it any other day of the week that the board is available. We're flexible.
Well, you know, that would be something that I think we need to discuss, maybe not on this particular platform.
Okay,
And I'm really trying to keep the board's best interest in the summer months in
Sure.
the forefront of my thoughts.
I'm just throwing it out there, that we're flexible as the board is.
So decision King Street.
Fran, I mean, maybe this isn't an option. Is July 12th an option? We can probably pick off a few things.
Yeah,
Probably not have it all done, but we might be able to pick off a few topics now. Okay.
Barry won't be here. Barry will be
On the
holding a new grandson.
Oh, on the 12th. I'm sorry. I missed that part.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, so let's meet on 40 to 42 Endicott Street. Maybe it will be very, very brief, but we'll try to cut through some of the peer review on the 26th. Is that okay with everybody right now?
Yep.
Okay, so that will be, we'll get through whatever we can on the 26th.
7:30.
7:30. Yes, sir. 7:30 on the 26th. And what if I said no? You have to be on your seat at 7 o'clock.
Well, if you guys don't mind sitting on your thumbs for half an hour, then that's fine.
Okay, 7:30 on the 26th. And just so everybody knows, we're also going to be meeting on the 19th. Barry, did you say you can't meet on the 19th?
I might not. It's up in the air.
Okay. That.
I would say I probably will be able to, but I don't want to commit to it.
Okay, and once again, that's at the Wigan in person. I'm trying to, you know, be very mindful of everybody for July and August. we might have some serious time constraints in July, so we'll see. But right now, let's do July 26th for Endicott Street and cut through whatever. Yes, Will?
And this may not work. Can I just throw this out as a suggestion? Would you be amenable if Barry was around on the 19th to do this on your regular scheduled meeting?
How many? Do you think it would, in your infinite wisdom, do you think it's going to be a long presentation? A long talking, about whatever? Because it is a irregularly scheduled.
I would hope less than an hour.
Jason?
Yes. Yes.
I'm
Let me
gonna
just throw it out there. I will do whatever you guys want to do that you believe will be most effective. If you want me to meet on a Sunday, I will meet on a Sunday. Whatever is the pleasure of the board, I will do.
Well, Grant Friend, I was gonna, obviously, total respect to the chair's position. I just want to throw this out as an option if it is an option. If you were amenable to the 19th and Barry stepped away for a second, but if Barry ended up not being available, would it be then possible just to continue the meeting to the 26th at that point? If you knew Barry was not going to be available due to the arrival of his new grandchild, would that make sense, or?
Okay.
Oh, 1 minute.
Can open and close the hearing. Then Barry's not there. That's still okay as long as they're not hearing.
So the next one's pretty much all peer review. And public
It's all going to be peer.
I'll offer something up. Even if everybody's in City Hall, I could Zoom in.
You know what? That's what I was just thinking. Could that happen? That could happen.
Yeah, the governor extended that, so that's fine. We can do that.
So that would be the 19th?
Yeah.
The 19th? We've never had this much trouble scheduling a meeting yet. It's just because we're under, I think we're going to be under some time constraints, but I won't know that. All right, you know what? Let's just do the 19th. And Barry, if you're in Florida, you'll let us know and you'll Zoom. Everybody, so forget the 26th. This is what I have to say to the board. Get a good night's sleep on the 18th, because I think the 19th is going to be a very, very long but productive meeting. Drink lots of coffee on the 19th. I want you wide awake, because it's going to be a regularly scheduled meeting. We will hear 40 to 42 Endicott Street, and perhaps, there might be something else in the wind. I won't know that until later on. But right now, then, it looks like we're going to do everything that needs to be done on the 19th. Is everybody okay with that? People that have children. Julie, are you okay with that?
And if I say I'm not, that just complicates things. So yeah, I guess so.
No. I want you.
I'll make it work. It is what it is.
Okay, but okay. So I need a motion to continue this 40 to 42 Endicott Street until July 19th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll make it work. Julie, even if you have to bring the kids to the Wigan, We'll get puzzles and games for them.
I don't think you want that.
And Madam Chair, just a point of information before we leave this entirely. Question. Do you anticipate setting this up the way we did King Street, where you're going to break up the issues as the peer review comes in? Or are we going to hear several peer review items at once?
Well, we don't know how many peer review items will be ready at that point. So I guess we will see what peer review items we have, and then we will do the agenda as we see fit.
Fair enough. And the good news with that is we have one engineering firm doing all of our design, and not the architectural, but certainly the traffic, the stormwater. So,
Great.
okay.
Okay, now, okay, so that's done. We have that meeting scheduled for the 19th, and everybody already knows that our next regularly scheduled meeting is July 19th. So we now are moving on to King Street. I need a motion to accept the correspondence dated June 10th, 2021, a memo from Attorney Panos. Can I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that's that. Now I need a motion to accept 6/10/21, a revised list of requested exemptions of 15 King Street.
So moved.
Do I need a second? Second?
Second.
Any opposed? All set. All right, now, I think we can, we have to take these individually. A revised plan dated 6/10/21 of 15 King Street. I need a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Any opposed? Okay. 6/10/21 DCI revised stormwater management plan of 15 King Street. Motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Any opposed? Okay. And now that we're on that, I am going to ask Attorney Panos. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Jason, could you please, on the DCI revised plan of King Street and the DCI revised stormwater management plan, could you please get hard copies to Carla as soon as possible?
Yes, how many would you like?
One each.
One each?
Yep, thank you. Now,
Full-size set of plans or reduced?
whatever you feel, she just needs a hard copy of, okay. No, motion to approve, to accept into the record 6/10/21 DCI revised stormwater calculations of 15 King Street.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any opposed? Okay. And the last one from 6/14/21 DPS memo of 15 King Street. A motion to approve, to accept that, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any opposed? Okay.
Can I just add something?
Yes.
So on our memo, I don't know if you have to accept it separately or not. It was attached to our memorandum. It was a World Tech memorandum dated June 14th, and a Horsley Witten memorandum also attached to ours dated June 14th. I don't know if you need to accept that separately or not. I just wanted to point it out.
Okay. Can I have a motion to accept those, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any opposed? Okay, all the correspondence is now,
Fran,
yes?
sorry, one more thing.
Yep.
Jason can confirm this, but we were reviewing, you accepted into the record the DCI plans from June 10th and the stormwater from June 10th.
Yep.
Also received plans dated June 11th and stormwater dated June 11th, and that's what our peer review has been, our finalized review has been based on.
Okay,
So
was that provided to us? Jason?
Yes, I believe it was.
Do we have that? Okay, we're going to have to go back and look for that.
Yeah, if it wasn't, we will definitely get it into the record.
Okay. We'll look, we have Emery, yeah, we have, Will, okay, we'll check that out. And if we do not have it, Ms. McGrath will be in touch with you.
Okay.
All right, so now, my dear friends, and anyone else listening, we now will hear from Attorney Panos and any other public participants that are listening. Anything that you want to say about 15 King Street?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jason Panos, practicing law at 246 Andover Street in Peabody, Massachusetts. Before I begin the presentation, I thought I'd take an opportunity to perhaps frame our presentation. And so we obviously have some outstanding, and Will Pollitt's memo of today indicates some outstanding peer-reviewed issues that relate to traffic and parking, stormwater, and sanitary sewer wastewater tie-in. We would like to do those technical presentations first and have that discussion back and forth centered around Mr. Pollitt's memorandum. And then after that conversation concludes, we'd like to go into the non-peer-reviewed aspects of our presentation, which are related to design, landscape, and lighting, which will be presented by Will Chalfant and Mark Mazzarelli. Is that acceptable to the board?
Surely, go ahead.
Okay, awesome. So again, my name is Jason Panos, and I represent the applicant and property owner HDG King Street LLC. Tonight is a continuation of the hearing opened by this board on October 5th and continued to November 9th of last year, December 7th, April 12th, and May 10th. And we are prepared to conclude the technical aspects of the peer-reviewed items I just mentioned related to traffic, stormwater, parking, and wastewater. Lighting and design and landscaping were not peer-reviewed, but nonetheless important, and we will present those separately after the conclusion of the technical discussion. By correspondence and materials provided by DCI Design Consultants, Inc. to the ZBA and its peer review consultant, Horsley Witten, dated June 10th. The applicant's responses were provided pursuant to the DPS memo of today, June 14th. There was a subsequent plan revision that was technical in nature, requested by, with some tweaks requested by Horsley Witten, and I am not sure whether you got that subsequent, those subsequent tweaks, but you will get them, and they certainly were peer reviewed once we confirm whether or not you got them. And obviously the DCI prepared revised site plans will be presented this evening. We are happy to report that with regard to traffic and parking and outstanding civil matters, the applicant and its development team are more in agreement. Actually, we have, I believe, entirely resolved the peer review items through extensive discussions which took place offline between me and Will Pollitt and members of our development team, and we've come a long way toward resolving these outstanding issues. It's been a very collaborative process, and I'm very proud to say that the process has worked the way it's intended, and happy to report that to you. Mass Housing, which issued the project eligibility letter for this development, has been copied to all of the correspondence as it's gone back and forth, particularly with regard to the plan changes. So they are familiar, and with what's going on, and Mike Busby, who is the liaison with Mass Housing, has not chimed in. So I believe that they are in alignment with the types of changes we've made, which really are not material with regard to that project eligibility letter. I believe that after the presentations tonight, peer review will absolutely conclude. By way of introduction, the project team members who are with us tonight are Al Chow, who is the senior project manager for the applicant, Stephen Sawyer of Design Consultants, Inc., DCI, in place of Wayne Kiefner, who you're familiar with, who will conclude the discussion on the civil items mentioned. Scott Thornton of Vanessa and Associates, who will talk about traffic and parking. Will Chalfant of Colsa Design, who will present the lighting and design features. He is the architect. And Mark Mazzarelli, who will present the landscape design for the applicant. I figure I'd take this opportunity to go through a very brief overview of 40B to basically help frame what we've been going through since October and basically bring it home, because I intend to conclude our presentation this evening as well. So as you are very well aware, and you're as expert at this as I am at this point, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40B, Sections 20 through 23 authorizes the issuance of a single or comprehensive local permit issued by you, the members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, with exemptions from generally applicable local ordinances, bylaws, and regulations. And the statute was enacted to facilitate the construction of moderate income housing, avoid perceived long delays in developers' proposals to construct affordable housing, and allow waiver of local zoning ordinances that are not consistent with local needs. The Mass Housing Project Eligibility Letter was issued on April 30th of last year and establishes the general requirements for, required by the regulations prescribed in 760 CMR 56.041, having been satisfied, allowing the application to proceed and allowing these continued hearings. The zoning board possesses the authority to act for all local boards, and those are specifically defined in the regulation, which include not only boards and commissions and the city council, who is the special permit granting authority, but also DPS, the building commissioner, and other kind of permit granting authorities within the city. It's a global definition. As of the time of the application filing with the ZBA on May 13th, 2020, Peabody's affordable housing stock and achievement toward its housing production goals was not consistent with local needs. And this is important because the question comes up time and again. The city of Peabody has heard it has met its 10% subsidized housing inventory requirement. And why are we hearing and proceeding with other 40Bs? Well, the time in which you measure consistency with local needs, the time in which you measure your progress toward your SHI, is the time of the application filing with the board. And at the time the application was filed, the city was in fact not at its 10% and had not certified its housing production plan and hadn't done any of the things that would allow it to assert safe harbor at that time. And that's a very important concept that I think everyone watching should understand. No one is trying to pull a fast one on anyone, as you know, certainly not this applicant. So the application was presented under Mass Housing's home ownership program, which encourages the creation of affordable housing, requires that 25% of units be subject to use restrictions to ensure they remain in the community's affordable housing stock, and must be sold on a fair and open basis ensuring that 33 units from this 133 unit project will count toward the city's affordable housing inventory. The units must be subject to use restrictions to ensure that they remain in the community's affordable housing stock and must be sold on a fair and open basis. This is an ownership project, which means that only the 25% of those affordable units count toward the city's subsidized housing inventory, unlike a rental unit where 100% of those units would count. However, 33 of these 133 units will count, and we will entertain a use restriction in accordance with that mandate. The development proposes a mix of market rate and affordable housing designed to assist city residents earning at or below 80% of the area median income prescribed by the Department of Housing and Urban Development in Washington, D.C. Up to 70% of the affordable units, about 23 units, will be available for local preference, meaning that those who live in the city of Peabody, who grew up in the city of Peabody, but can no longer afford to live here because of the exploding housing costs, and we all know they are exploding, have access to these units so long as they meet the income qualification criteria. For example, 80% of HUD area median income for someone, for a single person family household is around 70 grand, around $69,000, give or take. That's a lot of money. And these units will sell, to someone who is earning at that level. But it's certainly not enough money. It's certainly not enough income to be able to afford the $500,000 that houses are selling for in the city of Peabody. So you can ensure that these affordable units will be going for a lot less than that. As a development overview, and you've heard about this development through the plans and specifications as they've been amended and they've winded their way through the peer review extensively, but I just want to give you highlights. And I want to make sure that we all are on the same page and understanding that this is a redevelopment project. What does that mean? It is not a ground up development. We are not replacing a beautiful structure with a less beautiful structure. We are replacing a blighted, underutilized hospital that has not been in use for several years, with graffiti and paint peeling off the walls, which has been used by the local fire department and the bomb squad as a testing facility. We are seeking to replace that with new housing opportunities for Peabody and regional residents. And we believe that this is first-class luxury housing that will be afforded to particularly the affordable units. City of Peabody residents first, 70% of those units, as I indicated, and the rest, the other 10 units, will be put to regional lottery pursuant to a fair housing marketing plan. Obviously, the project location is at 15 King Street, located in the Residence 2 zoning district at the corner of King Street and Ellsworth Road, being the site of the former J.B. Thomas Hospital. King's residences consist of 3 buildings, A, B, and C, as they are noted on your plans, with 5 stories of residences in building A and B, and 5 stories of residence on an on-grade parking garage in building C, containing a total of 133 condominium ownership style housing units. Access to the site is proposed to and from King Street alone via 2 site driveways, which have been modified since the original application to accommodate comments from public safety officials to allow better ingress and egress in and out of the site. There is no access proposed through Ellsworth Road or Southwick, for that matter, as is currently the case, or as was the case when the hospital was in use. The proposal takes advantage of existing topography, which slopes down from Ellsworth Road to a northeasterly direction toward Lowell Street by placing underground parking beneath Building C, allowing for the addition of 24 additional parking spaces. The unit mix is designed to minimize density impacts by proposing 59 one-bedroom units. That's almost half. 60 two-bedroom units, again, almost half, for a total of 192 one and two-bedroom units, and 14 three-bedroom units, which are the minimum required by regulation and guideline. If we could do away with the three-bedroom units, we would, but we can't. 33 units are proposed designated as affordable, as I indicated, and 100 of the units are proposed designated at market rates to be determined at the time they get built. A change that has evolved is parking. A total of 201 parking spaces is proposed, 7 accessible throughout the development, for a total parking ratio of 1.51 spaces per dwelling unit. This is a change from the original proposal of 1.6 units, but we reduced that ratio, as you will hear tonight, to accommodate the various peer review comments that came to us. And we're very happy, I think, that the city peer review consultants, DPS, and this development team are all on the same page with the result. The current proposal substantially reduces, as an example of that effort, the compact spaces from about 46% to 15% at 30 spaces, approximately, with substantial achievement toward the city's goal to reduce that ratio of standard size spaces to compact spaces. Sidewalks and curbing are proposed throughout the site to allow for easy ADA compatible pedestrian access to all buildings, and parking areas on and throughout the interior and exterior of the site at King Street and Ellsworth Road, including access ramps. Payment to the city in the amount of $34,000 for installation of ADA compatible equipment at the intersection of King and Endicott Street is proposed, and we are offering that up as assistance to the city. And we believe in our consultations with DPS that $34,000 will pay entirely for the necessary ADA improvements at that intersection. And we will do the installation of the actual ADA accessible ramps at that intersection as we are doing the sidewalk improvements at King and Endicott. Bicycle racks are proposed throughout the site, adjacent to all building entrances and in the Building C garage. Electric charging stations, visitor parking, ride share spaces, loading and unloading zones are proposed for better drive circulation throughout the site. Significantly, payment to the city in the amount of $60,000 to address historically pre-existing issues regarding off-site traffic concerns at the intersection of King, Lowell, and Endicott Streets by installing those improvements, which resulted from recommendations by city consultants about 5 years ago, are proposed. And we will write that check and give it to the city earmarked to install those improvements that the city identified were significant in alleviating the historic problems with that intersection once and for all. And our request is that the city do those sooner than later, so that the neighborhood can realize immediate positive impact from this development. And also significantly, the proposed redevelopment incorporates numerous infrastructure improvements and upgrades to install stormwater management and treatment where none exist today, with standards that exceed the DEP stormwater handbook. And we're very happy we were able to come come to conclusion on that matter as well and accommodate the city peer review request. And also significantly and lastly, we have agreed with the city that we will conduct various wastewater system improvements as recommended up to the I&I infiltration and inflow fee of approximately $230,000 based on a pre-prescribed formula. So again, we're paying additional monies for more improvements, which should make the impacts of this development positive, not only for the development, but for the immediately surrounding neighborhood and the community as a whole.
Thank you, Jason. Oh, are you done?
Just a brief status update. Well, you know what? I don't need to go through the rest of this, but I will say that we are ready to conclude our presentation before the board, and I would ask that the technical presentation commence first with Scott Thornton from Vanessa to talk about traffic and parking, followed by Stephen Sawyer from DCI to talk about stormwater and wastewater.
Did I ask?
With your permission. May we proceed?
Will, where are you? Do you want to say anything before we allow the other men to speak?
No, I think I'm all set at this point. We can speak at the end if you like.
Yes.
So Scott, Ms. McGrath, Carla, if you could share screens. I'm remote right now. I'm not in my office. So each presenter, Scott will go first, but he's going to do a PowerPoint, which you did not get, and I will give it to you first thing tomorrow morning, and followed by Stephen Sawyer, who will present his own PowerPoint.
Yeah, actually, Jason, if I could jump in, I think, Carla, if you could just allow Will Chalifant to share his screen. I think he has all the slides for all.
I've got all three.
Great. Okay.
Awesome.
So thanks for that lead in, Jason, and good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Scott Thornton. I'm with Vanessa Associates. We prepared the traffic assessment for the project, and I think that, as Jason indicated, I think we've made a lot of progress on traffic and parking. We've had some very productive work sessions with Will Paulitz and Rod Emery of World Tech going through their comments. And again, I think that, the peer, I echo what Jason indicated, that the peer review process has worked pretty well in regards to traffic and parking. And I think we have a better project for having gone through the peer review process. So I only have one slide and I'll be quick. And as mentioned previously, Jason really did a good job going through some of these issues. And these comment areas shown on the slide are from the DPS memo that came out today. And I'll just go through them quickly. That's interesting. Okay, hopefully this is quite, well, anyway, so in terms of the first comment area, the snow storage area, the snow will be trucked off-site by a private contractor, and there will be no encroachment on parking spaces or on site distances. So that's something that'll be addressed by the on-site property manager. It's nothing that will be that will ever affect public considerations for those off-site. In terms of the mitigation request of $60,000 for Lowell Street and King Street and Endicott Street traffic signal equipment, again, as Jason indicated, the applicant has agreed to provide $60,000 for that equipment upgrade. And that includes a number of items that were mentioned in the DPS memo, including high visibility reflective backplates, ADA compliant pedestrian push buttons, and video detection for all the approaches. In terms of the mitigation request for $34,000 for King Street and Ellsworth Road, again, the applicant has agreed to provide $34,000 for the equipment upgrades requested, and those include items such as, again, the ADA compliant push buttons and pedestrian signal heads, as well as replacement of 3 outdated traffic signal heads to improve the visibility and ability for motorists to see that traffic indications in advance. The item of the mitigation request to install the ADA compliant concrete sidewalk ramps at King Street and Ellsworth Road. As Jason indicated, this is work that will be done by the applicant. We will plan to install new sidewalks on King Street and Ellsworth Road abutting the site. So that's work that we will address and take care of. In terms of the item 5, the peer reviewer recommended increasing the size of parking spaces. So as Will or Steve possibly will go through, the parking space sizes were revised in order to reduce the overall compact parking space ratio from, as Jason indicated, from about 46% to approximately 15%. And that allows us to keep the parking ratio at about 1.5. I think before we were at 1.52 spaces per unit, and now we'd be at 1.51, which is generally approximately the same rate. Regarding the dumpster location and a request for a detailed plan set, the dumpster locations have been relocated from the Southwick Road side of the site to the King Street side of the property as depicted on the plans, and in keeping with comments that came out of DPS. And lastly, the last item, the mitigation request to join the North Shore TMA, the Transportation Management Association, for a 5 to 10 year commitment. The applicant is willing to join the TMA for the time indicated to the extent that the TMA exists. There's some questions about the applicants or about the TMA's long-term viability. But again, the applicant is willing to join that TMA for the period indicated, as long as the TMA is still functioning and still providing services. So I think that's it for traffic, trying to keep it brief, and I believe Steve Sawyer from DCI is up next to go through some of the site issues. Thank you.
Fran, is it right, just in the interest of time? Well, actually, never mind, I'll let them continue. I didn't know if you wanted to take off, basically just resolve traffic at this point and then go on to DCIs. Yes? Okay.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Yes.
That's okay. All right, I'd rather than go into another topic, because I think Scott Thornton summed it up very well. I don't think there's any really outstanding issues at this point with traffic. I'll let Rod Emery speak quickly if he would like to in respect to the revised plans for World Tech. The only thing I would add on the snow storage is that we don't want to see we've in our memorandum, we suggested some conditions for the zoning board to take a look at, one being that as they store snow on the property, they don't reduce any on-site parking, and also that they don't plow the snow off their property across into the public right away.
I was going to ask that question.
We're fine with that, with those conditions.
And we took a look at the dollar amounts that, for mitigation, and we're fine with what they're presenting for mitigation to the 2 intersections and for doing the ADA concrete work as part of their project at the intersection of King. Rod, I don't know if you wanted to jump in real quick at this point, so we can just sort of wrap traffic all up at this point. Oh, the only other thing I would add, I'm sorry, is that we would ask them just to, as part of the construction review, that they work with the fire department with respect to the modification of the pavement layout on, I think it's Southwick Road.
Jason, that's fine? wherever you are, Jason?
Yes.
Okay.
We will obviously, they'll be part of the construction review process, so we'll obviously be presenting the actual build set of plans to them at the
Okay.
appropriate time, so, yeah.
Great.
Rod,
Okay,
did
so
you-
that
through the-
looks, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, through the chair, Rod, did you have anything you wanted to add to the discussion to wrap this up?
No, just that we spent most of our time ironing out the parking ratios, so that's where we spent most of our time, but I'm very happy that we reached all this agreement on all the issues.
Yes, and I was going to say that I'm happy to know about the snow removal. The dumpsters were moved, and that at this point in time, it seems definite that the city and the builder and the attorney are all in agreement for the traffic, which makes me very happy. So if that concludes traffic, we now will go on to what?
Just quickly, I'm sorry, through the chair.
Yes.
Just so, I think the parking kind of falls into this. So just real quick, just to rehash from the last meeting where at least I had some concerns about parking that would be spilling out from inside. I know we can't force anything upon anybody here, but I'd ask is if the city would potentially consider the possibility of resident parking only on the abutting streets. And if the city were willing to look into that or implement that, if the applicant would be willing to agree to a condition that if the city did at some point implement that they would abide by it or agree to it.
So Stephen, I have let's you and I discuss this for a minute. I went up King Street today, and there's parking on the side of the street where the residences live, the people live, the houses. But there are no parking signs on the side of the street where the building is. And I thought that they should be there. Now, do you think that that's appropriate, or do you want that side of the street to say resident parking, so they're parking on both sides of the street?
No, my thought was, but if there's no parking already on that one side, I'm okay with that. I don't care about that. I just want to make sure that if there is spillover, there's some protection based on my prior comments. And again, I'm just one voice, but my thought would just be if the city's looking to do that or okay with doing that at some point, whether it's now, or 6 months from now, a year from now, whatever it is, that just to see if the applicant would be willing to condition this upon that. And again, I'm just one voice. Everybody else doesn't want to do it. I'll jump off the topic, but.
So
I'm sorry, Fran.
So are you talking, Stephen, resident parking on King and Ellsworth?
Yeah, at least those two.
Resident parking only?
Through the chair, if I could.
Yes.
I think it's a good idea. However, I've faced it before. The only problem with that is if you want enforcement, you are restricting the people who actually live there from having visitors who are visiting their house from parking in front of their house during the visit. That's
a fair point. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with, obviously, I don't mean obviously, but I'm familiar with resident parking, say in Charlestown and the North End. And if Barry's right, if you're visiting or you're shopping or you're doing whatever, it's extremely difficult to find a parking space. However, perhaps for the residents' sake, especially on King Street, so if you're going up King Street on that right-hand side where the building will be, I definitely think there should be no parking signs, because on the other side of the street where the houses are, they are parking, and the street is wide enough to handle that. And there already are some no parking signs on one side of the street of Ellsworth. So I think it's a great idea, Stephen. Maybe the whole zoning board can revisit this in a year if there's any parking problems. but it is resident parking. It's difficult to narrow that down just to the residents, especially when they have driveways. You see what I
Okay,
mean?
fair enough. Yep.
And
But it is a good idea.
it's a great idea, pardon me for interjecting, but I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. We are talking about visitor parking right now. We're not talking about restrictions on resident parking. And the policy can be constructed and crafted any way the city council and in conjunction with emergency apparatus, Captain Richards and the police decide the policy works, and everybody seems to do it differently. And we'd be more than happy to engage in that conversation at the appropriate time, because we're proposing 133 units of residents there. So whatever resident permit parking
True.
requirement you would propose would also include us. And I think, Stephen, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, you're talking about the visitors. I think we're all on the same page that we provide enough parking. And I don't want to assume that necessarily, but I believe that peer review, DPS, and certainly this development team feels that at 1.5 units, spaces a unit, that's enough to satisfy the parking requirements for the residents. We're talking about visitor parking. Is that right, Mr. Zalotis?
Yeah.
Okay. We're happy to engage in a conversation at any time the city feels necessary with regard to a policy in that regard.
Will, what do you think about all of this?
I honestly think it's really not our department to really weigh in. I don't know if Kurt Bellavance is still on the thing. I can't see his video, but that's just because of the screen I'm in. I think it really would be up to, I guess, the city council and the police department if they wanted to enact resident parking. But as I think, as Jason said, that would be still, you know, the people living there would still be residents. It would just be their visitors at that point you'd be restricting. And the visitors, as you had said before, that already live in the neighborhood, I guess their visitors would be restricted as well. But from our stance, we really wouldn't have an opinion either way.
Okay, great. Do you have an opinion either way?
Kurt Bellavance, Community Development Director. No, but I mean, the city council entertains motions or requests from different departments all the time in regards to parking throughout the city. So it's something that they could entertain at a different time if they felt needed to be changed.
Wonderful. Okay, so are we still hearing from somebody now? I'm sure we are. We are hearing from Stephen, maybe?
Yeah.
Sawyer?
Yes. Good evening, Steve Sawyer from Design Consultants Inc. I'm here in place of Wayne Kiefner. Actually, I did get a text. So the June 11th, it was kind of fast and furious. Those the last couple plan turnarounds, and I guess those June 11th plans were emailed to Janet and Will in engineering. So they were the only. So that it didn't actually the ZBA did not get those plans, but as far as the technical review agents, they both received them. Okay, I'll jump into this to keep it brief. So I think the major comments or the major final issues was, as we've talked about, was the parking. So we had 202 total spaces, 107 full-size 9x18s, 95 compact 8x16.5 at 47% with a rate of 1.52 spaces per unit. In discussions with the reviewers, they said, okay, they felt that we came to a consensus that the standard space didn't need to be a full 9-foot width. It was reduced to 8.5 by the full 18 for the standard space. And then the compact remained as is at 8x16.5. So we lost one space. We're at 201. We had 15% compact spaces, 24 total compact at 15%, which is well below what is typically acceptable for even a non-affordable element. One item, actually go back a bit, just back one slide. And as mentioned, we are cleaning up the southern curb line of Southwick, there'll be a defined edge, no longer, there's areas where it's just open pavement between. And then there'll be a landscape buffer between that with a defined edge with no access off that road. The dumpsters you can see it on the plan here. There's one placed up at the corner of Ellsworth, and there's another one actually further right there, all the way pushed up to King. So they were moved as far away from the, as part of the review, it would move further away. All right, we'll jump to stormwater. As part of the final comments, there was request to get a little more aggressive with our reductions. So you can see the dashed blue line, that was our size previous inside the blue shaded area and the infiltration basins. So we expanded those by about 25%. And I think the criteria was was to hold the 10-year storm, hold the 10-year storm that is in its entirety of the stormwater that flows to those basins, which we have done. What that did is it renders substantial reductions. There's a 49 to 23% reduction to the Southwick stormwater system and a 22 to 18% reduction to the King Street stormwater system. That's a very healthy reduction and will help mitigates or reduce the impacts from today's runoff to the runoff in the future, reducing the burden on any downstream drainage infrastructure. Also, there was an ask to provide water quality units prior to discharging to the city. So we added a water quality unit up at the south, which was prior to the Southwick discharge, and then also a water quality unit prior to the King Street discharge. So the water quality that we discharge to the city system is greatly improved. So that I think that covers the changes from the last meeting. We did receive a letter today from Will regarding conditions. I think there was 10 conditions regarding to the site civil. We have no issue with any of those. I think they were all discussed as the project went along. Quite a few of them pertain to the construction methods of construction of the infiltration basins, which is fairly typical. What he's asking for, and not out of the ordinary. I think I'll keep it brief and wrap it up. And if you have any questions, I'm here.
Okay, so what I basically heard was that Will, you're in agreement with everything that was just stated by Mr. Sawyer?
Yes.
Great. Who's next? Anybody? Will, are you next? I mean, Chalfant?
Not
Will.
yet. Are we all set on the technical peer review?
Oh, Janet?
I saw Janet Bernardo kicking around, and Janet reports to Will. I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but I just want to be able to say we're done with peer review.
Well, I think Janet
Sure.
wants to say something. Jason.
Yeah, is that all right if I?
Yes, go ahead.
For the record, this is Janet Bernardo with the Horsley Witten Group. And can you just go back one slide? I just want to add one thing that Stephen missed. The applicant also, one thing we asked them to do was try to include a little bit of the pavement area. So for subsurface infiltration system 2, they did kind of add the other one. Yep. Add a little bit of the pavement of that parking lot and a third water quality unit to the catch basin to provide water quality before it went into that subsurface system. And then it goes out to the street. So they did increase the two systems to hold basically it's the roof runoff and the 10-year storm event. And the change to the plans were a couple of typographical errors on the plans that were for inverts that we asked them to address. So that was why there's a second set of plans dated the 11th. That's it. Thanks.
Great, thank you. So far, everybody's happy and everybody's in agreement so far, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Fran, so that wraps up stormwater. I can very quickly touch base on water and wastewater to close up.
Certainly.
Great.
Go ahead. Yep.
The only thing on water, I believe, is they're going to, obviously, before demoing the building, they'll be disconnecting their buildings from our water system, and that we asked them to work with the fire department in respect to the fire hydrant that was previously mentioned at the last meeting that will be behind the retaining wall. They're proposing to, yep, about with that, a little bit more to the left with that cursor. So right there. I believe the applicant is proposing to reset the hydrant and face it towards Southwick Road. So we just asked them to work with the fire department to see if that's acceptable to the fire department or not in respect to access. And then in respect to wastewater, Jason had addressed it earlier. We're asking the applicant to take on a inflow infiltration removal project in the neighborhood, which I believe they've accepted to do. And that we would be capping the amount of money that the applicant would have to put forth to that project at their II fee of $243,100. And that we ask that any money not spent up to that dollar amount, a check be cut to the city of Peabody for the inflow infiltration removal fund that the city has to remove I&I from the sewer system. And I think that pretty much wraps up all 4 peer reviews. Actually, there's one more, I guess, that should be mentioned. Environmental. So there's some 21E items that are still outstanding. I believe we wrote in our memorandum that you would have received today that we asked that they be resolved prior to a building permit being issued.
Jason, you have all that?
Yes, and
Okay.
we're in total agreement with the 21E issue. It is what it is. There's a regulatory structure that prescribes the outcome,
I just
and
want to know if you're okay with it.
we are.
Okay, perfect. So far what I'm hearing is things have been revised, gone over, talked over, agreed upon. So far, so good. Who are we going to hear from next?
By
Okay,
name Will Chalfant.
Chalfant, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Will Chalfant from Calsa Design. We're the architects on this project. Our office is located in Somerville. So I'll go as quickly as I can here. The first slide illustrates the existing site here at the top of the page, and then the proposed down at the bottom. We're orienting these buildings with major frontage along Ellsworth and King, and obviously creating a landscape buffer around the edge of the entire property. As has been previously mentioned, we've enlarged our entrance points to help with visibility, as well as adjust some of our planting in that area. And another important item is we have relocated these dumpsters down along King, right here, here, and here. And by doing that, it gave us a little bit more green space along Southwick, and will give some much needed softening to the project. So with that, I'd like to have Mark Mazzarelli, the landscape architect, go over the planting plan in greater detail, which is right here. And I will zoom in so everyone can read that a little bit better. And Mark, I'll hand it over to you for a moment.
Will, Mark here. I'm assuming you can all hear me. Will, actually, this plan is a little low res, but if anybody on the board or the public needs to zoom in on an area specifically, maybe we can accommodate that, Will. But in general, I'll take you on a quick walk through so we can keep moving this project along. Starting on King Street, the intent there was to
We lost your voice.
have a line of shade trees, and in the interstitial, what did you miss? I'm assuming everybody can hear me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairperson. So starting again on King Street, the intent was to line the street with shade trees, and in the interstitial spaces, introduce flowering trees for additional seasonal interest. As we work around Ellsworth, the idea is to continue the shade trees and really bulk up on the flowering trees where we can. And then as we work our way down Southwick, that's where we put the emphasis on evergreens to give privacy and separation from both our project and the neighbors on Southwick Road. It's a mix of evergreens, primarily cedars, spruces, trees that do very well in harsh environments and will withstand the conditions along the road. In the interior, we're very much interested in framing the entrances and anchoring buildings wherever we can with trees to help bring the project scale down with vegetation. That's sort of the quick walkthrough. I can get into specifics if you'd like. There's a plant list included on the plan. Wherever.
Is he not coming through?
Wherever possible, we've been using native plants and plants that, sorry, I'm sorry, is my voice projecting?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just wanted to wrap up. We were looking at the plant list and I was talking about the emphasis on natives, which are selected not only for their regional quality, but their hardiness specifically. We want to make sure what we put in
We lost you a little bit. Can you hear us?
But will live in the decades to come. The trees are.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay. I'm sorry, you're fading in and out. I just want to know if you're finished.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
So
I don't want to rush you. I do have a couple of questions. So as far as tree maintenance, are you the landscape architect owner of the company that's going to maintain the plantings, or are you just the designer?
I'm the latter. I'm the designer.
So there is a landscape company that will come in, and if there's a branch that needs to be cut or trees or bushes that have to be trimmed, that will be taken care of efficiently. Is that correct, Jason?
That is right. There'll be a property management company once this development is built out who will manage the day-to-day operations, and that would be included in a day-to-day operational issue. Yes.
Okay. So the plantings, they look very nice, and the idea and the thought that went behind it, I think, is wonderful. I always like to see lots of green space. And I like the idea of the flowering trees. So any questions or comments by the board at this point? Okay. So Will, you're good with all that landscaping, is that correct?
Yeah, I'll keep going, and please let me know if someone hits the slow-mo button like they did to Mark. Thank you, Mark. So I'll quickly move along here. Here's an aerial of the existing site of the hospital. As you can see, a tremendous amount of asphalt, as we know, and our proposed, which will as again have a nice green buffer around the majority of it, and some within amongst the buildings. So quickly, we have some existing images. I think everyone here is familiar with what this building looks like and the current state of it. Obviously, it's in disrepair. I will quickly go through the floor plans. Again, we have 3 buildings, A, B, and C. Buildings A and B are identical in nature. So these floor plans I'm about to show you are for buildings A and B. It's a mix of one bedrooms being denoted here in green and 2 bedrooms in orange, as well as some 3-bedroom units, excuse me, on the, right now we're showing them on the upper floors. But the plan is designed in such a way that these can really be moved around almost like puzzle pieces, and we can give an equal amount of 3 bedrooms or 2 bedrooms, depending on how we go throughout the building. So again, floors 1, 2, 3, and 4 are a mix here. It's pretty typical design with a center corridor. We're serviced by 2 stairs and an elevator. Buildings will be fully sprinklered. And as we go forward here on the roof plan, this is the 5th floor rather, right here. You can see a lot of the dormers, which I'll get to in the elevations. And we have the rooftop plan. And I just like to point out a few things on this, mostly that our condensers, which can sometimes be a concern for abutters, are all being located in the center of the building. This is done for 2 reasons. The first being that the vibration that's caused by these to the units below, we're centering these over the corridor below, so the residents themselves will not hear these. And then secondly, by putting them here, they're shielded from view from abutters across the street next door, because they are set back in, and our parapet will shield all that mechanical equipment. So here are the elevations for buildings A and B. What we tried to do is break down the scale of the building itself. This part of Peabody has a diverse mix of building styles ranging from Victorian, colonial, some mid-century split levels. And all these styles have some common materiality to them, predominantly clad in traditional clapboards, masonry, and hints of metal. So what we've done is put together a palette of brick, some standing seam metal, and some clapboard and panels with a traditional double hung window, divided lights, and an asphalt roof system. By treating the 5th floor with a mansard, it actually helps the building read as a 4-story building rather than 5. And by breaking it up with these bays, balconies, and different material treatments, the building reads less of a large mass and more of a mix of architectural elements. Building C is the outlier here in the sense that it has a garage underneath it. So we're taking the natural topography of the site, which would be in the northeast corner of the site where building C is. And we saw in the previous slide, the ramp curves down here. So we've actually moved this entrance over a little bit as part of the peer review process to accommodate a more comfortable slope into this garage. And as a result, you sort of sweep around here, this elevator. But downstairs, we're providing 24 parking spaces, as well as a lot of bike parking, additional bike parking that we're not providing at the main entrances of the building. And mechanical facilities, sprinkler, et cetera, will also be housed in this basement level. The floor plans, again, very similar to A and B, a mix of 1s and 2s. These range in size from 750 at its smallest all the way up to 1,500 square feet for our 3-bedroom units. And again, the elevation is almost identical, with the exception here that we have this garage entrance, which we've tucked in here using the natural grade to our advantage. So quickly, we have a mix. We have a lot of different unit types here, which should give a variety to residents. These are all 1-bedroom types, all different slightly in variation depending on where they fall in the building. Some obviously have 2 bays, some have 1, a couple have balconies. And the idea here is to not have a cookie cutter building, but rather different layouts for different residents. So we have obviously different styles of 1s. We also have different style 2-bedrooms, 2-bed, 2-bath, all being serviced with a very similar kitchen, living, dining, open concept, main living space. And again, we have 3-bedroom units as well here. These will be predominantly 2-bath as well, not 3-bath. But they will have all the bells and whistles of the others, except some of these will also have balconies being on the top floor to take advantage of the views around Peabody. So last few slides here. This is a sort of photorealistic, and I apologize if this is too small for people to see, of the buildings and how they relate in relation to the roads that surround it, Southwick, Ellsworth, and King. Again, placing our condensers in the center here and trying to create a buffer of greenery and landscape around. And this is a sort of realistic cross section here showing building A at the far left and building C at the far right, and this natural grade change that occurs and how we're really tucking that garage into that grade. This is a photorealistic rendering, if you will, from sort of the center courtyard of the site itself. This kind of gives you a better idea of how that fifth floor is treated with these dormers. So it doesn't necessarily read as an additional floor. And we're using some elements common to, the North Shore as far as railings at the top here, almost a nod to a widow's walk, as well as, again, these bays and material changes, which try to break down the scale of this building and its how it's perceived by its residents and abutters. And so just a couple things here. This is a typical building section and a wall section. And what I want to really emphasize here is that this building is going to be highly sustainable. It will meet and in some cases exceed energy code requirements for building envelope performance. We'll be using closed cell insulation, double pane, low E glass windows, high efficiency heating and cooling systems, Energy Star appliances, and as previously mentioned, all lighting, exterior lighting and common lighting will be LED, which is obviously very efficient and doesn't need to be changed that often. So in that vein, right, we have a photometric plan here, which isn't really, to those who don't know what they're looking at, lumens, you measure your light pollution, as it were, in lumens and your foot candles rather. And the idea is to keep all ambient light, wayfinding light on your site. So anything out here is almost 0 to 1 foot candle, meaning that there's no light pollution caused from these buildings to the abutters. Everything is focused within the site. This is sort of probably a better view here. All wayfinding light, whether it's lamp posts or pedestrian walkways, will be maintained on site. We'll be using shades on those lamp posts so that all light will be forced downward opposed to going into the side to existing neighbors. And the idea is obviously to provide a safe experience for residents on the site so that they can see, but also not intruding on the abutters. So with that, I will open it up to questions and kick it back to Attorney Panos.
Okay, so thank you for that. That was a great presentation by you and by all this evening. Jason, do we have anybody else at this point that needs to report to us?
From the development team side, we're done, and I would suggest that if you want to see what this is going to look like, this architect at Khalsa designed the River Rock project down at the
Salem
old
and Dodge
Flint
Street. Yep.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Flint
I've been by. Yeah, I've been by there. It's very, very nice.
This is a little taller, but this is that's essentially what it's going to look like.
Okay, so in answering my question, do you have anybody else that needs to present?
We're finished.
Okay, so Will, do you have anything you want to add, Will Politz?
No, I think we're concluded our end of it.
Okay, so as far as it looks to me, that everybody has worked extremely hard. City side and the development side seems to be in complete agreement as to all the peer review issues. Do I have anybody from the board that would like to ask a question or comment on anything? And do I have anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this proposed? There's nobody in the audience. Well, yes, we do. Suzanne Jobski, would you like to speak?
Hi, how's it going?
Oh, okay. It's not Suzanne, but go ahead. You may.
So my name is Ryan Cox. I did have a question. It was brought up in this, as far as the 40B proposal and the application.
Wait. Could you just give us your address, please?
11 Hamrick Road.
Hamrick?
Yep.
You're in West Peabody?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
So I had a question about the 40Bs because it was brought up in this discussion. And I was wondering if you could clarify the application, because it said that it could not be denied because the application was already in process. Could you clarify what that actually means?
Kurt, where are you?
Right here. Sure. Yeah, I think they're referencing the safe harbor argument. The safe harbor date was, which is assigned to us by the Department of Housing and Community Development, I believe is March 29th. And this application was put in about a week before that. So once they start the process, it's not something that you can just spring on an applicant and say, oh, by the way, I'm actually talking about the Endicott Street one. But whether this project was filed prior to the safe harbor. So anything that was before the board.
Now, does
it's
that
not-
mean before state approval, or does it have to be in front of the ZBA?
The state doesn't approve this. So what happens is they file to Mass Housing to get a site eligibility. So Mass Housing basically says you're allowed to apply. So that allows them, it gives them basically the go pass. They come before the Board of Appeals, and the Board of Appeals approves this. There's no approval through the state. Once they get the project approval from Board of Appeals, then they have to file the right paperwork in regards to marketing, affordability, and those things. And that's basically form letters that DHCD has, that as long as they meet the criteria set by them, then they're good to go. So.
Okay, so basically if there was another one that was in the process of approval through Mass Housing, could that, if the application was put in before Peabody was at the 10%, can that be denied under safe harbor, or is that considered before?
Right now, there are 3 projects before the Board of Appeals. They've all filed before the city has reached safe harbor. We're in safe harbor right now. We received our letter from DHCD. That's good up until March of 2022. That doesn't stop someone from applying. They could apply to the Board of Appeals if they'd like to. It's just something in the Board of Appeals back pocket that allows them to deny a project if they choose so.
So if the application went in before Peabody was at the 10%, but was not approved by Mass Housing, can it still be denied under safe harbor if it was approved by Mass Housing after it comes to the ZBA?
Right. I just don't like using the word approved by Mass Housing, because they're not really approving anything. They're just kind of giving it the green light. And it's just a site eligibility letter. That letter is good for 2 years. And oftentimes you can get that extended. So that's sort of the preliminary phase. So right now, anybody who gets a site, and I'm sure you're referring to the Winona Woods project that is before Mass Housing. They'll get their letter, I'm sure, probably within a week or two. They have up until 2 years before they can file. So and they could file next week with the Board of Appeals, and the Board of Appeals can entertain that if they'd like. But that's sort of what the status is with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Those were very good questions. And I know everybody is wondering about that also. Anybody else? Yep, we have a Susan Minio. Unmute yourself and just give us your address, please, and what's your question?
Yes, my name is Susan Minio. I live at 1316 Cranebrook Way. I have lived here for almost 18 years, and I am very excited about the fact that this project is moving forward. And I need something that's handicapped accessible. I'm living in a handicapped accessible building now, currently. However, they have removed many of the accessible features that I first moved here for. So this is something that I'm very much looking forward to. I think that there are a lot of people in Peabody that need something of this nature. I also want to be in a more quiet and more secure neighborhood. I'm living off of 95, and things have changed very dramatically in this neighborhood. So as I'm getting older, I'm 64, I would like to be in more of a neighborhood. I do have friends in that neighborhood, and so it's quite lovely there. And I think the JBT site needs an uplift for sure. So I guess my point is that I hope this does move forward, and I hope that the neighborhood sees it fit to upgrade this eyesore that I would think is dangerous for children in the neighborhood, and certainly people would want to see something more pleasant to look at than what's there now. So I really am looking forward to this moving forward, and I hope that it does. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very,
Thank
very
you.
much. Is there anybody else in the audience? Nobody else. All right then. Oh, one more. I think. What?
What do you want to do?
Well, we do have somebody with just a first name. We don't usually allow that. We're going to let John speak.
Hello.
Yep.
Meeting is being recorded.
Nope. I'm sorry, John. You're not coming through. We're going to try one more time. Name and address for the record, John?
John Salisbury.
Okay.
7 Emerson.
Yeah,
I've
go
tried
ahead.
multiple times and I've never been able to get through on the Zoom. I'm just saying, at what point do we start talking about the scale of the project? 40Bs are supposed to be, I think the previous speaker was under the mistaken impression that this is low income housing, which it is not. These are almost all market rate. When are we going to start talking about the scale? Technically 40B is supposed to be limited profit. This is a massive project. I noticed that in the design, you don't have any pictures of the houses which are next to this gigantic project. You know, they come up to about its second or third floor. The trees, if they're mature, maybe they'll screen out 2 of those, but that's kind of ridiculous. I mean, it's going to be paved over, ginormous project, totally out of scale with the neighborhood. I mean, it's a historic district. When are you going to get into, okay, let's see how much profit do you really need a project of this scale? Because basically the exceptions that they're asking for are every exception. There's nothing relating to the zoning here. It's too tall for the neighborhood. The site coverage, they're asking for an exception. They have to justify that economically. And I don't see any discussion of that at all. When does that happen?
Okay, Mr. Salisbury. So let me just
Okay.
tell you that everybody, the zoning board, the applicant, Mr. Politz, and everybody, all the engineers, everybody on the city, they've been working together. That's what we have peer review for. Everybody has been back and forth. They've had discussions, they've had working meetings. At this point in time, we are ready to, we've heard everything. You know, the board has heard everything. Will be no more discussion on height or anything else, on landscaping. We've heard it all, and we're ready to move forward. So we understand your concerns, but at this point in time, we are ready to move forward. Thank you. Okay, everybody on the board, it is now time, I believe, to close the public hearing. Unless anybody from this board has anything else to add, question, or comment. Do I have anybody that wants to, on my board, on the Board of Appeals? You know, I love you all, that's why I call you my board. Do you want to discuss, comment, or add, or are do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Through the chair, I guess if nothing else, a comment, if I could.
Sure.
I think peer review has done very well. I think they've done a lot. But I think it's incumbent on the board to agree or disagree. Whether what they've come up with is adequate is what we feel the project should fit into that neighborhood, or how we feel. Do we still have any concerns as a board that we'd like to discuss? Maybe as a board. I don't know if I'm ready. Well, we'll have 40 days once we close this thing, right? To make a decision. I think we need to think about, are there any conditions we want to put on this? So I don't know if I'm ready to close the public hearing or not. If you're confident enough that we can do that, then I'm ready to close. How's that?
Thank you, Barry. I am confident enough. I really, really am. And I will ask everybody else on the board if you are confident enough. And if you aren't, speak up. If you are, you know, we do have 40 days to work any other little whatever is out. But if you all seem to be in agreement that it's time to close the public hearing, then so be it. And I need that in the form of a motion.
Through the chair, if I could.
Yes.
I think the city engineer has done an excellent job as far as the engineering part of this, but are we satisfied? Have we had final say from the fire department? Have we had final say from the police department? Are they satisfied with everything that the petitioner has offered?
Will? Jason? Kurt? Kurt?
I'll jump in because I can speak for myself that I've had conversations with both Captain Richards and Captain Dowling, Captain Richards from the police department and Captain Dowling from the fire department. And I'll take each of them separately. Captain Richards' primary concern was the turn radii, particularly access into the site and the overhang of, or the crossover rather, traffic into the site of trucks, trash trucks, delivery trucks, fire trucks entering and exiting the site. The crossover being that those vehicles that would cross over to oncoming traffic as you enter the site.
Jace, I hate to interrupt you, but maybe to make this, to satisfy Barry a little bit more. Barry, there will be no building permit will ever be issued until all of this is gone over with a fine tooth comb in the whole decision process.
But the comprehensive permit will be issued prior to the building permit.
Yes, and cutting to the—
Then what good is that?
But cutting to the chase, Barry, hold on, I didn't finish. The plans as revised have been met to the satisfaction of both Captain Richards and Captain Dowling. They have already been revised, addressing their concerns.
Do we have correspondence from Captain Richards and Captain Dowling saying that?
I don't know if you have written correspondence, but I can tell you that in my conversations with them, that was all they were concerned about, was basically that truck turning radius into the site. And what we did was we widened from 20 to 24 feet each point of ingress and egress to eliminate that primary concern.
Kurt, do you have, I think I saw you shake your head. Do you have anything to add to this?
No, I think everything that we've talked about with police and fire has been mostly verbal. We've asked them questions about certain layouts of the project. We've worked with them, for several years, and we know what issues they bring up and what they want to look at. And I know Jason has met with them a couple times. They've said that, and I know that we did revise the last set of plans based on the feedback we got from them.
Okay.
You okay, Barry?
Yep.
Anybody else? Okay, so this one, once again, I need a motion to close the public hearing, and this is the first step. Obviously, we have another big step to go through, another big meeting. So once again, Barry, if you're okay, and if everybody else is okay, then I do need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
Roll call vote, please. Oh, no. Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Stephen.
Stephen,
Yes.
Fran,
Yes. All right, so now that we've closed the public hearing, the procedure is we have 40 days from tonight to render a decision. And condition it or not. Obviously, yes. So now we need to get a date within that 40 days. So it looks like Barry, did you say you're going to be here on the 19th? Or you don't know?
Possibly. If not, I'm gonna zoom in, right?
Right. We need the last possible Monday that we can do this is the 19th of July. And yes, you can zoom in, thank goodness. And I just need everybody on this board and Jason and Will, anybody that is involved with the decision-making to look at your calendar and see if July 19th is a good time for you.
Fran, if it allows you a little more breathing space, the 40th day falls on a Saturday.
We're not meeting on a Saturday.
No, I know that. I'm just saying the 40th day falls on the 24th. And if it gives you more flexibility, we would agree to push to the 26th.
We're going to hear Endicott on the 19th too, right? I don't want to make that decision. I need to, we're meeting on the 19th, the board. You decide. I have no life, so I'm free.
Brian, if you need me, it would have to be the 19th, but I'll leave it up to you if you need public services for this final meeting.
Hey, you're going to be far away. You can't zoom in.
On the 26th, I won't be able to, unfortunately.
Oh, at least you'll be somewhere fun.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Fran, I think we should do them all on the 19th. I think
Okay.
I'd rather have one marathon meeting than
And two.
3 meetings in July.
Okay, so Barry, you can zoom in. Stephen, is the 19th okay with you? Keith? Dan, you said fine. Julie? We're going to get you babysitters, correct? Kurt? Jason?
Yes.
Okay, so we will meet on King Street for a decision, working evening, long evening that night, but Dan is right. If we come prepared, we should be fine. So that's it. It will be December 19th. July 19th. July 19th, regular ZBA meeting, King Street and Endicott Street. So yes, it will be a marathon night, but we'll all be together. So in closing, we are meeting June 21st. That is next Monday. And that will be our first time that we meet in person. We will be here at the Wigan Auditorium. Enter through the back door.
I'm not sure on that.
Well, we'll make sure the back door is open. And if you want to come in through the front door, we'll make sure that that's open too. But that will be at, are we meeting at 7 or 7:30 on the 21st, Barry? 7 o'clock
7:30.
on the 21st?
Yeah.
Is it?
Why can it not be?
Yeah, it can, but was that what you,
No, it cannot be. It
Oh,
cannot be.
it
Why?
cannot be?
I've already run the legal ad.
All
and
right,
It starts at 7.
okay.
Oh, you're gonna have, okay, so 7 o'clock. I did have 7:30 down, but yeah, okay. The big boss says it's gotta be, you have to keep it legal. 7 o'clock, next Monday, in person, Wigan Auditorium. I'll bring prizes. Thank you, everybody. I need a motion to adjourn.
Thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very, very, very much. And I'll see you all next week. Looking
Thank
forward
you.
to it.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you.
Good night.